Welcome to Game Crunch Game of the Year 2021. With Mike.
Don't listen to his siren song. Do not.
With Brandon.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
And Nick.
Man, that could have got really bad.
There are many great games, but only one can be the best. Only one can be Game of the Year.
Welcome to Game Crunch Game of the Year 2021. My name is Mike Anastasia. Nick and Brandon are here, and we are going to be talking about spoiler stuff today. This episode's all spoilers. We have best moments and best story, so be prepared. If you are okay listening to it, then you should know that things are going to be spoiled. So there is that. Like always, Game of the Year stuff. We have a bunch of nominees. We narrow it down to a top 3, and then we have one winner and 2 runners up. All right, let's get into it. All right, this one, spoilers. Spoilers are in this category because This is best moment. So we will be talking about very specific moments from these games. So, best moment, Metroid Dread ending. No More Heroes 3 rap battle boss fight. No More Heroes 3 final boss battle, Guardians of the Galaxy opening, It Takes Two Street Fighter boss fights, Returnal time skip, and Resident Evil 8 everything after the revival.
I have no idea what that last one is. Dave wrote that, and now I'm trying to think of what the fuck he's talking about.
I told him too. I was like, yeah, we could talk about your things. But I'm like, with something like best moment or best story, we might not know what you're talking about. So yeah, while you're trying to figure that out, I'll talk about the Metroid Dread ending.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't finish it yet, did you?
No. But go ahead and tell me. I don't care. Give it to me. I want to hear.
Well, I'll tell you anyways. I just want to see if you saw it or not. So, Metroid Dread. So as you fight Ravenbeak, and Ravenbeak's like, guess what, bitch, I'm your father. And they're like, oh no. I mean, not really like father. Like, they just injected her with his DNA. So he's got some of her DNA in her. But then, she also has the Metroid DNA in her. And he apparently has been, like, tricking her to, like, get her to bring out her Metroid DNA. So she turns into a fucking Metroid. And she sucks the life out of him. And then she goes fucking
in
crazy and
way.
destroys everything. Yeah, just sucks it right out of him. Then she goes
Damn,
crazy.
shawty, okay.
She goes crazy, destroys everything. And she gets back to her ship because Ravenbeak was pretending to be Adam this whole time. Then you get back to your ship, and Adam's like, no, don't touch me. Then she's like, oh shit. And then the other Chozo comes out and is like, here, take my thing so you can turn back into a normal Samus. And then she does, and that's it.
Yeah,
So
he comes
she's
out and hands her a Snickers bar.
But she was the last Metroid. She still is. And he basically was like, yeah, you're the thing that everyone's been hunting down for years. Guess what, bitch? You win. you're now the most hated thing in the galaxy. So there you go.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool too.
Damn.
When she turns it. Because like he's about to like choke kill her, and she's just like,
Oh, yeah.
Rah!
Hold on. I'm going to pull up the suit for Brandon.
Let's see it.
Yeah, the Metroid suit. I think it's kind of hideous, but it's kind of cool at the same time.
She looks like an angry artichoke.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And when I post this in there, you'll be like, yes. Let me scroll up here. Where are we at? There's that server. And there we are. There's general chat. And bada bing, bada boom. Angry artichoke.
See what we got here. Oh, that looks like a leaf.
Like a leaf.
I actually
It
like
is
that.
a very cool sequence, though, when like you're fighting Ravenbeak at the end, and he's all like gigantic because he like did the shit, and then you're like, not so fast, motherfucker, and then you just start blasting him. It's very reminiscent, in my opinion, of the final boss of Super Metroid, where like you get imbued with the hyper beam, and then you're like, not today. So like it gave me that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, but it definitely does. Like that kind of like, hey, last minute, like save yourself thing. But in this case, she does it all herself.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's also like
woman literally too angry to die.
Yeah. Because she does. She turns it up to like 11.
Yeah.
she's basically like dead, and then she's just like, "Rah!"
It also explains why. This is another spoiler for the game. If you are avoiding this, explains why throughout the game she can absorb the things with her hand.
The X parasites.
Not the X parasites, but like when she kills an Emmy and then she absorbs the shit from it and then gets the power.
Oh,
That's why
yeah.
That's why she can absorb it, because the hand that she touches them with is her like hand that's like turning into a Metroid.
I do love it too. Oh yeah, because I forgot that was the whole thing at the beginning of the game too. Because he kind of like gets her to draw out the hand. I do love it too when you get to the last Emmy and she just basically like force kills it. Just like, like
nope.
just nope, not today. Just sucks the power right out of it. Doesn't even. But that was even before like the big reveal. Like if you kind of like had an idea of where it was going, you might have figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like most people probably didn't get it until like they actually like spelled it out at the end. So, because I think I kind of thought of it, but I don't think I was like sure until she turned into the avocado.
The avocado.
So yeah, I don't know. I just remember I watched that and I was like, holy shit! And I think I was like, "Did you guys finish this yet?" And you're like, "No." Oh no, Brandon, because I knew he was farther ahead. I think I finished it before you even got the game.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon's like, "Oh, I just got to the second Emmy." And I'm just like, "Hurry the fuck up, dude!"
Yeah, it's better when I beat a game before Brandon.
I know it's rare, so rare,
so
rare. It's still mooing. That's how rare it is.
Very rare.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty. I'll talk about the No More Heroes 3 final boss battle too, because I think it's the last thing I have on this list to talk about.
Rap battle.
No, not the rap battle. The final boss battle. Brandon can talk about the rap battle.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Brandon didn't see the final boss battle in this game either.
That's true.
Yeah. Hey, guess what happens?
What's up?
Guess what the final boss battle is?
Tell me.
It's Smash Bros.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
It's literally he makes the Smash Brothers clone, and you are fighting like Smash Brothers.
That's fantastic.
With like the percentages and everything. Yeah. Because Suda was always saying, he wants Travis touchdown in Super Smash Brothers. And I was just like, the motherfucker did. It was just like that scene in Jurassic Park where he's like, he did it. Son of a bitch, he did it. Yeah. That's exactly what he did. In this one, he's like, you know what, you're not gonna put me in the Sakurai, you're not gonna put me in the game. He's like, we know how to just make it myself.
Wait, is that literally the ending? Like he quite literally says, Sakurai, if you're not gonna put me in the game, I will?
No, I'm just saying that's basically.
Oh my god, I feel like that's something that could have happened.
That's literally what he was like implied. Like it's implied.
Okay.
Like, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it for you.
Nice.
But yeah, that it is literally exactly what it is. It's like 2D, like percentages, bounce the fucker off the screen.
I cannot wait to get there. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm sure you'll get there, Brandon. It's only been like 8 months.
Bro, you don't have any idea half the shit I've been through. I can't even find the will to play games unless it's something that has a progression system that keeps me fucking focused and I have like 6 other people to talk to at the same time.
All right. Talk about your things.
Oh, okay. Now I gotta go read back what I wrote down on here. All right. Okay, so I wrote down the No More Heroes 3 rap battle specifically. And the reason why I wrote this one down is you know who he's rap battling, right?
I forgot.
So this is the like very prim and proper girl from No More Heroes 2 that you can have a secret boss fight against that fights with bubbles.
Yes. I don't know. Was it actually secret though? I thought you always had to fight this girl.
No, I think it was the boss fight was the secret aspect of it, if I recall correctly. Because I feel like when I was streaming it, someone was like, "I didn't know you could fight her." So anyway, doesn't matter. But my point is the fact that she came back and she changed herself so much so, and she was so much like Travis, kind of. Like with just how vulgar she was and everything for the whole rap thing, and her having a duet battle thing with Travis was really neat to me because it felt like a callback to, and it was a callback to the other games, and it was a pretty major callback because we didn't really know what happened to that character from long ago, and seeing their transformation was really cool. And then the boss fight itself was actually pretty neat as well.
That was a fun boss fight.
Yeah, I liked the stage hazards and whatnot that they had. It was cool. I liked that one a lot. So that's the reason why I wrote that one on here. Guardians of the Galaxy's opening I think I've mentioned this before, but when you first start in the Guardians of the Galaxy game, you are holding in your hand a vinyl record complete with lyric sheet. And the lyric sheet is the song that's playing in your ears on your Walkman in the game at that moment in time. This is a full-fledged album made in-house by the team that worked on Guardians of the Galaxy. Every single lyric to every single song is in that lyric sheet, and you can follow along and listen to the whole album in its entirety from start to finish in the game itself.
Very cool.
In a very neat, like 80s aesthetic room where you're sitting on your bed, chilling out, like tapping your toes to your Walkman, your mom sitting down in front of you and everything, clearly saying something, but you can't hear because you have your headphones on, and the game itself won't actually start until you like turn off the album. So you could listen to the whole album in its entirety inside the game. And you've got like all these like nostalgia posters everywhere, all these like toys, Rubik's cubes, all this other stuff littered around the room, all these references to real bands littered around the room, and it's just super neat. I absolutely adored the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's why that one's on here. It Takes Two Street Fighter boss fight. This one is sick because the thing about It Takes Two is, and I don't know if I've mentioned it to you guys, but It Takes Two as a whole feels like someone made a game jam, and every game that was made in that game jam was thrown into one game, and they just said, fuck it, we're going with it. And somehow it actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
And for this one, you know, cooperation is a big part of It Takes Two, and it's the most important part of It Takes Two. During this, you have just escaped from like a squirrel's tree, and the squirrel's tree were like, they were like military based and everything, and you had to like fight through it and everything. It was super neat. And now like the big bad squirrel boss guy is the one that's left, and you've escaped now in a toy plane, like a model plane, and the second player is flying the plane and avoiding obstacles, while the other player is actually playing a version of Street Fighter, having to fight the boss while the other player is flying and dodging obstacles with the plane. It is super cool. It's a really neat escape sequence, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, but it makes sense for a way to escape from a tree full of actual military-based squirrels. And it's just like, I had the biggest smile on my face, because like you even do like Hadoukens and shit. So this was just out of nowhere, lots of fun, super neat. This next one, I'm going to skip over some parts of it because I think Nick is actually enjoying this game.
I am.
But Returnal, this is a minor spoiler, Nick.
Okay.
It has a time skip.
Okay.
After the first 3 biomes, there is a time skip. You then get to witness what happens over the last how many ever years you've been gone to those 3 biomes. They become advanced. The enemies become advanced, so much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The world has reclaimed like the actual planets and everything and the biomes that you were initially in, and they've changed massively and drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going through them a second time with a new mission, and the time skip is super neat the way it's done, because it kind of has some horror aspects to
Mm-hmm.
it, and that's what leads to the time skip. And I just, the way they transition and add more levels, and they feel different, but you know you've been there before, and the world feels like it has had a time skip and things
Mhm.
have happened to it and you weren't there to witness it. And then you can like read all the lore and everything during the second half of the game. It's super cool the way it's implemented, and I really, really dug that aspect of the game. So that's why I had the time skip for Returnal here. I looked up this next one, which is Resident Evil 8, Everything After the Revival. I'm about to spoil the fuck out of Resident Evil 8. I had no idea this is what he was talking about. But this
I'm just
also
reading it too.
spoils the fuck out of Resident Evil 7 as well.
Yep.
So I don't know how much you care, Nick.
I don't.
Okay. So Resident Evil 8. You're fighting like this cult basically throughout the entire game to get your daughter back. Classic sort of deal. They're going to sacrifice her and bring about some kind of new existence, basically. So you defeat the first few people. So you defeat the vampires, the like dust monsters, whatever. You defeat the lichens, and you defeat this other guy. And then it's time for the big bad. It's time for Mother Miranda, the one who is the main leader of the cult. While you're fighting the final boss and you kill him off, she comes out and starts taunting you. She tells you that your daughter was never yours to begin with. She belongs to the hold on. What I gotta remember what it's called. She belongs to the what? What does she belong to?
The darkness.
No. There's a word for it. There's actually a word for it.
The streets.
No. It starts with an M. Hold on. Let me do this.
Mangoes.
It's not mangoes.
The mold.
It's sort of that, but it actually has a name. So
Montana.
it's not
Hannah Montana.
She's Hannah Montana.
Megamycete. That's it.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go. Okay, Megamycete. That's the name of it. So she tells him that his daughter belongs to the Megamycete and never belonged to him in the first place, and he don't know what the fuck's going on, basically. And then in the middle of this reveal, you get stabbed through the heart, and she grabs your heart and she smashes your heart in her hand, and then drinks your blood as you fall down and fucking pass out and die. And that is what leads to the actual ending of the game, where you jump ahead to Chris, but instead we then come back later to the main character, Ethan, who's talking with his daughter, and his daughter is like a vision, that sort of thing. And his daughter reveals, you never had this family. You never had this life. You actually died several years ago. And then she reveals that in Resident Evil 7, when you were bashed in your head, they actually split your skull and killed you, and you were murdered, and then they injected you with the same mold that they were made out of, and you are actually one of the mold monsters that you fought throughout all of Resident Evil 7. And you have been dead this whole time.
Da-da-da.
So after this is revealed, you're like, what the fuck, basically? All right, well, if I'm mold, then I'm just gonna I'm gonna go for it, whatever. And you wake back up, and yeah, you realize, hey, I'm a mold monster. That's what's up. So then
Moldy
you
bitch.
take a bomb and you go to detonate it, because I mean, you're a mold monster. You're not real. You don't really exist. You're inhuman, and you decide that. So in order to save your wife, who you thought was dead in the first place but wasn't, and that was a fake clone that was made to spy on you, that died at the very beginning of the game. Yes, I'm serious, this is actually the plot. Chris then tells you about the whole thing that's going on. You take his weapon, you go in there, and it's like, all right, we're gonna go do it. And then you do the explosion, and you blow up the place. All that stuff happens. I think Chris at some point finds the people that were assaulting the thing during the whole we're going to bring about a new world, and it turns out they were actually part of BSAA, which was the secret force he was working for. And much like Umbrella, there's another corporation that existed that was here to bring about a new world of change, and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Rose gets out alive, and it's very much hinted at that she can control the mold, and what they were trying to do in Resident Evil 7, which allowed them to control the mold and control people's lives and everything else and use it for good, but they became evil because they became obsessed with it and became big monster zombie things. It's very much hinted at the fact that Rose can actually do that, and the evil villains of Resident Evil 7 actually succeeded in their plan because it was implanted in your daughter because you were a mold monster the whole time. Resident Evil 8 is a big convoluted fucking mess at the end of the game.
Yeah, and the whole mold thing, I guess, explains why Ethan has his hand back.
It does. It explains why he was able to reattach his hand. It explains during Resident Evil 7 why you went through so many horrible things and you didn't actually die. It also kind of invalidates a lot of Resident Evil 7 because you wouldn't have died.
I'm guessing he probably died, but then they brought him back to life.
Well,
That's a
no,
good
they
point.
did. They killed him literally at the opening of Resident Evil 7. It's explained. It's even shown in the game. When
Oh,
you got
there you go.
bashed over the head with the shovel, you died.
Oh.
That was in the first 5 minutes of Resident Evil 7.
I
You've
already
been
forgot
dead
that
for
part.
3 years.
So there you go.
Yeah,
That's kinda crazy.
this one's actually a crazy fucking moment. To be completely honest, this was a really neat reveal. I totally forgot about it because that whole game had been a blur after running it so many times. Because I think I played it 5 times from beginning to end.
Also, kind of seems like it'd be something you need to wrap your head around, too, because there's a lot going on there.
Definitely. So
Is
yeah,
that
there you
all?
go. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Well, I like the Metroid one.
I like Resident Evil 8 and Guardians of the Galaxy.
I like Resident Evil 8 too. Yeah.
I like Guardians of the Galaxy the most because you can just listen to a full fucking album from beginning to end that was made by the in-house creators, a band that didn't exist before this game, and follow along with it with a lyrics booklet and a very chill 80s vibe bedroom. I liked it. It is, as the kids would say, a vibe.
Hmm.
I think it's as the kids would call sus.
I don't think so. I think that's the most unsus thing there is.
So sus.
I don't think so.
uh,
I spent like 20 minutes explaining there's an ending to Resident Evil 8. That's got to be worth something, right?
I know.
At least a runner-up.
That was interesting one. It's like, hey guys, guess what? You're just fungus. You're toad.
You're a fungus among us, and that's sus.
Sussy Baka.
That's
Fucking
true, that
hell.
was sus.
It's super sus.
So, I mean, I would say my top two would probably be like Metroid and Resident Evil.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's Guardians and Resident Evil for me, but that's cool. Either way.
Nick, what do you think? Where are you?
I'm with Metroid, Resident Evil, and Guardians.
Okay. Well, I think
What do you think should win then?
I mean, considering I experienced Metroid.
yeah, and I'd give it to Metroid as well, which means we can take the category and we can just make the other two the runners up.
There you go.
All right. So best moment goes to Metroid Dread ending with runners up Resident Evil 8. Pretty much, I don't know, the end of whatever that is. And then the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy.
All of Resident Evil 7 and 8.
Yeah, kind of.
All right. Next category. Best story. So we got Famicom Detective Club, Metroid Dread, Guardians of the Galaxy, It Takes Two, Inscription, and Deltarune Chapter 2.
Yeah, let me step in right here. All right.
Who put Deltarune on here?
Must be Dave.
It had to be Dave.
Okay.
All right, let me take over for a second here.
Okay.
Let's talk about Inscription. Finally, this is a game I've been waiting for a moment to be able to talk about. By the way, my pick is already Inscription. Just gonna go ahead and say that.
Okay.
Inscription is a game that starts out with you. It starts out with you logging into a computer, but you actually can't. There's an option for continue, and there's an option for load game, and there's an option for new game, and you can't pick new game, and you can't pick continue. So all you can do is load game. So you load the game up, and once you load the game up, the game has already started. There is a pair of eyeballs sitting in the dark in front of you, and it's time to play a card game. This pair of eyeballs teaches you about said card game and how to play it. And basically, as you're talking with them, they are explaining the rules of this game. They're explaining how it works and everything. And as you continue through this, it gets more and more convoluted, and things start to seem not quite right. Like, think of like damage markers, but you can actually use a special ability that allows you to place a damage marker on the scale to weigh down your opponent's scale, and that ability is a knife, and you immediately stab it into your own eye and pull out one of your eyeballs and place it on their scale to weigh them down. There's a lot of really creepy moments like that, and the card game itself is really weird and just the the implications of what's going on here, where it feels like you're like being held against your will and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. All of that is really weird and different to begin with. And then you finish the card game, and you get up from the computer, and the game turns into a real life vlog video by a guy who found the game at a place, who does card pack openings. He's a Twitch streamer that does card pack openings. Now, this is a real person now. You've gone from playing a game to sitting here watching a real person talk on their vlog. And the real person is now telling you about how they found some card packs and everything and some stuff. And they found what was it? They found the card packs for Inscryption, a game that was like in beta, like the card game itself was. So they had physical card packs that they got, and during their card opening stream, they noticed on the cards that there were like codes and that sort of thing. And they thought they were like little elements to like some kind of, special item you could get in the promotion or whatever, but that never went through because the card game never got brought to market. So they had got this super rare card game. But it was actually coordinates, and they found out. And then it shows the coordinates where they went to and everything. And at said coordinates, they were able to find a actual package. And the package had inside of it, it was like congratulations sort of thing. And it had the floppy disk. And that floppy disk was the game you were playing at the beginning of the game. And now you realize, oh, okay, so I'm playing as this person. It wasn't me, the person that's playing the game from the get-go. It was the person that I watched the vlog that did like Twitch card pack openings and that sort of deal, that found the game, and he was going through it. And then he starts combing over the game and looking through it, doing dumps of the game, that sort of deal, getting all the data out there, trying to figure out stuff about it. But he gets contacted after one of the people that made the game. He gets contacted by the people that were like the card game portion of the game. He gets contacted by the people that were going to make it into a video game, but never did. Then we start seeing more vlog stuff, because there are different videos that you can go through after you played the first chapter. And the different videos show his individual, 5-minute vlogs, where it goes from him talking to people, trying to figure out everything he can about the unreleased card game, to why did I find this copy of this video game that was never brought to market out at this location that was from your card game? Was it like an ARG? Was there something to it and you guys just never went through with it? Do I need to return this to you? Is it not okay for me to have this? Can I stream this? And then he starts having people come around asking questions, and then it gets really weird conspiracy-ish, and he finds another game inside of the game, and it turns out that's the game they wanted. And it hurts my head talking about this, but essentially this game was made for someone that was going to pass away, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. And they either did or didn't, but also it was being made because it's possible that the people that were working on the game, like the developers, had something to do with the person's, mental state. So there's all this stuff in the game where it's is this an ARG of the real game that I'm playing? Is this an ARG of the story in the game that I'm supposed to piece together in the game itself? And as you unravel more of that, you're able to find more game hidden inside this game. And then you're able to continue further, and you start getting different kind of games. You start finding things like a pixel-based game that plays a lot like the original Pokemon RPG card game that was on the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color. So you find a game like that, and you're able to continue in that, and you get more hints to the whole story of what happened to Inscryption, what happened to this company, what they may have done, which led to all these problems. You start seeing that like the company they were working through was doing like some kind of advanced AI that they were toying with, but it's possible that the AI became a little bit too advanced, so they had to destroy it in general, and you found the remnants of it, and now these people want to shut you up, essentially, and it's super fucking crazy. It's nuts, from beginning to end. This game is a complete mindfuck. And like it just continuously finds different ways to surprise you with its story, with its world, with like how realistic the acting is for like the vlog people, and how realistic the like fake Twitch live streams are. The fact that at one point when you're playing the card game, it just becomes an escape the room game, and you can like get up from the actual desk as the player in the game and look around and use the same kind of ideas that you'd found from the vlogs that you saw, where like they had found like the coordinates and that sort of thing. You're able to use that kind of idea in the escape the room aspect of this game, and take different hints on the cards to get up and solve puzzles around the room. And in between turns, while playing against this shadowy figure with like eyeballs in the dark and everything, you can get up and like go over to like the cuckoo clock, and like one of the cards that you may have pulled may have said something about going to a certain place at a certain time. You go over to the cuckoo clock and you change the time, and you're able to get another sort of card to help you win that battle. So you're solving puzzles, and you're able to add cards to your deck for the next time you go through the run of the card game. And then when you exit out of the actual card game, you're able to see the real life of the person that was playing it behind the desk, and their story outside, where they're being harassed by this company that made this game, is like super interesting and very weird. And like the shady company that like did this whole thing to begin with, that like canceled the card game, and how they got canceled in the first place. That's the aspects of the story that's just like fucking my brain breaks. And then there's the aspects where like when you the player are playing it, also it'll ask you to do things like your next attack will do more damage based on taking a file on your computer, and depending on how big that file is, that's how much damage you can do to this thing. So when you start fighting the rogue AI sort of deal later on in another game that's inside this game, that rogue AI wants you to dive into your real life computer and use files that you have installed on your computer to fight it. And then you're like just tackling all these super fucking weird aspects alongside the really weird ARG, like borderline weird creepypasta story, but not creepypasta because it doesn't get like, oh, and then a demon with bloodshot eyes jumped out and went a booga booga booga. It's just all about corruption in like gaming development in general, and how kind of like a little bit of Blizzard stuff here. That's how sometimes bad things happen, and our developers and people that make games may not be the good guys that we think they are sometimes. And the game's fucking phenomenal all around, and it's one of my favorite games that released in 2021. And because of all the aspects and all the things you have to do to access the other games, it's kind of spelled out for you, so it's not difficult, but I don't know how you would do it not on a computer. And because of that, I don't think this will ever come to console or anything like that. I know I said that about Doki Doki Literature Club, but there was just a few things you had to change there. This, like, it actually requires the use of my files. So I don't know how I would do that unless it's like, oh, take a file you downloaded from Nintendo or upload a file to your SD card. And
yeah, pick your biggest game.
It's just all those aspects together. Yeah. Make this one of the most interesting stories, both in the game itself and outside the game, because of everything you have to do to continue the game. So like you have to really think about everything, and it's super fucking cool. And when you just look at the game, it's like, this is another one of those card games like Slay the Spire. And then you get into it and you're like, what the fuck is this? And that's kind of how I felt. And I have just spoiled this for a shit ton of people, because this is the kind of stuff that like mind blown sort of deal if you've not played it. as you're experiencing it for the first time. Because on the surface, it is very, very basic. But as you go further and further in, the story in and out of game is just incredible. So now
And
go
then
ahead and tell me how
Ninja
Metroid Dread wins.
Well, we talked about it in the last category. I don't know if we really have to go back over it
Yeah,
again.
have to.
Yeah, these categories will be like back to back.
Mhm.
So
Also,
we
I
already know
wouldn't.
why it's so awesome.
I honestly wouldn't put Metroid Dread in best story because it wasn't like it was a really good story, right? But like I don't know, like what you just described sounds a lot more interesting and has a lot more depth to it than just
It's
Samus
one of
Aran.
my favorite games I've played in a really fucking long time.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a story. That's
It's
always nice.
made by Devolver Digital, so you can imagine how insane and how far. I mean, it's published by Devolver Digital, and when they look at something, they're
Mhm.
like, "Is this batshit insane? Okay, cool. We're gonna publish it then." And that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, they usually do.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think we could try to string together like No More Heroes story in here. I mean, good luck.
No More Heroes story is pretty crazy too, actually.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know how the hell you would. Why isn't that even on the list? That's what I'm curious about.
Why is it not on the list?
Yeah,
Because it's too crazy. I don't know. I mean, the stories aren't that great.
dude, what I just described. I mean, come on. No More Heroes could have easily been on here.
Yeah, I mean, anything that has a story could be on there.
I actually have a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Maybe this is answered and towards the end of it, but I don't think it is. In about the middle of No More Heroes 3, did you fight yourself from the future? Was that person that was at the like tower that like showed up and fought you and then just fucked off and didn't show up again?
Oh no, it's like a grandkid. I think
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Like, is that explained or is that just infer it?
No, well, it mentions it at the end.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Because you beat the things, and then it's like, what does it say? Then like so you beat the prince,
Mhm.
then like his dad shows up, and then like your grandkids from the future show up, and then
That's lit. I like that.
yeah, but then it's all like anime-ish,
I like that still. You haven't deterred me yet.
and that's just how it ends. It just kind of
Hmm.
like it sets it up for like the sequel, but it sounds like Suda's just like not interested in doing another sequel either. So I don't know if we'll actually see another one, but it just kind of just ending in like the craziest way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can do It Takes Two and Guardians of the Galaxy as well if you'd like me to do that before
Yeah.
you
sure,
do the other two. So It Takes Two is a game that is explaining divorce, basically. The daughter of the husband and wife that you play as, who get turned into dolls, she essentially uses the power of fairy tales to cry, and it turns you into dolls because she was really, really upset that she saw you two fighting. And the reason why you are working together is because of the fact that you're stuck as dolls and you're actually just working together as a means to an end. But as the story continues on, the reason why the game is called It Takes Two is you and your wife in the game find the ability to kind of like do these compromises, even though you have the same fights throughout the actual game in the story itself about, little things that a couple would bicker about and that sort of thing, the things that add up to one big, huge, I hate you. Yeah, I hate you too. I hate this about you and that sort of thing. And I think the way that this game handles that sort of aspect is done in such a well executed way that it really just flows perfectly. And it goes from the fantastical aspects to like the modern aspects of like, oh, I've been telling you to fix this thing forever and you just didn't fix it, and the thing you never fixed but you kept saying you were going to do and you put off over and over and over again. That's one of the boss battles in the game. You have to like fight a vacuum cleaner that's fucking broken, and like you have to work together with her and find ways to defeat it. And then like the husband like telling the wife like, oh, you haven't got this, or the wife not believing in herself and that sort of thing. There's like an entire level that revolves around her music career that she never went and tackled, and the whole story revolves around them coming to terms with each other and trying to support each other, and something that she wanted to do, but like maybe it wasn't feasible at the time. But he still is like, it's not that I didn't support you or I wasn't going to support you. It's just that at that moment in time, we needed something else, something, you know, that was viable, something that we could actually tangibly have, and that just wasn't possible. It takes like really tough like subject matter, and kind of normalizes it in a way that's like, okay, this feels very, very real in this fantastical world where you're like fucking flying on airplanes and fighting squirrels by doing Hadoukens and shit like that. And those little stories that add up to the problems that the two characters have with each other is done in such a genuine way that the story itself is very interesting, because you're learning more about the story of these two characters and why they hate each other and how they can come together and support each other to actually fix their broken relationship and that sort of deal. And I just thought that was very, very well done in It Takes Two. So there you go.
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy. That game is, where do I start? So essentially, Guardians of the Galaxy is like if you were watching the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but instead of it being like, oh, how we came together and we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's already been established. So we're just on one of their adventures, and we're just learning about them, and the game kind of treats you like you already know these characters, you already know who they are, and this is one of their stories. And I think that's one of the best aspects of the game, because it doesn't do like the let's watch Uncle Ben die for the 27th time like Spider-Man games do and that sort of shit. And then it got it right, because a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy is about the interactions between the characters, and the story here is essentially about you trying to, escape one of your debts and that sort of deal, and you have to go fake that Rocket Raccoon is like some kind of big scary monster and sell him to this alien lady who is like basically a me wants snoo kind of girl. And then
Oh no.
yeah, exactly. And then you like sell him as the big scary monster to her, but you can also make other decisions, like he'd be a cute pet or that sort of thing. And you make all these different decisions for the characters. You learn about their backstories, their past, what their future might hold. You learn about Peter Quill and his possible daughter. You learn about like the people he had relationships with in the past, and then you see them get corrupted and that sort of deal, and you're like having to deal with the now corrupted versions of some of these characters, but the actual it's not like them corrupted, it's by some cult and whatnot. As it's the general overarching plot of like comic books, movies, and that sort of deal, but it's the way that the story is done through the interaction with characters that I think is what makes it so good here, especially with the flashbacks to things like Peter's past when he was not, a space hopping kind of guy, fast quirking, shooting people with laser pistols, and when he was a kid and like the experiences he had in like the 80s and that sort of deal. Those little back and forth moments in the story, I think, is what makes it worth being on the list, because those moments really show a lot of character development and kind of explain where Peter Quill as a character came from. Because like the band that you listened to at the beginning that I mentioned before in Best Moment, that band was called Star-Lord. So like he got his name in this game, at least, based off of an album he really, really liked, essentially. And there's plenty of moments like that. and a lot of nostalgia moments for real bands, real artists that are talked about quite heavily in this game. There's no way you could play this game on Twitch because there would be so much DMCA on your videos. But yeah, I think the way that just in general, it mixes his past and present and possible future together is what makes the story so good for Guardians of the Galaxy and why I put it on this list.
Okay.
Then yeah, you can go ahead and do what you want to do. No,
Jeez, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
let's see. What
I
was
just
that
don't
about?
know what to say for Deltarune Chapter 2. I don't know what to say for Famicom. I don't know what to say for Metroid Dread. I mean, Metroid Dread felt like a Metroid game.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, a really good Metroid game, but that's not the story is not the aspect that I come for when it comes to Metroid games.
But you become a Metroid.
I don't care.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, so that's that one. We talked about it in the last category, anyways. So I did look up the story for Deltarune Chapter 2.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I can explain it. I'll try.
Okay.
So, but apparently they go to like the Dark World, and then like if you, where is it? There's this queen, and you fight them, and then there's these dark fountains, and if you take out someone's soul, then you can go into the Dark World, but then you can use a knife and to make it into a dark fountain, and apparently you are the bad person who can make the dark fountains. And if there's too many dark fountains, then the world will be killed by something. Titans.
Wait a fucking second. There's no way this is real. Okay, anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
That's what I just read.
No, not that. Not that. I was reading, like, I decided to type in explain Chapter 2, and I got a bunch of things where people are like, so this is an alternate universe of Undertale, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's true. Because apparently, like, some of the characters from Undertale are here.
Mhm.
They're like different identities. So, like, that one bitch that Nick killed at the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah.
She's here.
Like a dog in the street.
The one fish lady with the eye
like
patch.
a goat in the street.
She's here without an eye patch. So there's things like that. And then it's just the whole idea, like, you know, Undertale was all about choices. And this was just kind of about no choices. Which, let's say, like, your choices don't matter. I think that says it in, like, Chapter 1 of Deltarune. Like, you make a character and then just dies. Or whatever. So there's that. But then there's also, like, so this one also has, like, an alternate route, like this Chapter 2. Where you can, like, get certain items and teach one of the characters to kill all the enemies with ice magic. And then instead of, like, fighting this queen, then there's this disgraced advertiser called Spamton, guessing probably better, which, like, takes over the castle, and then, you know, people are too exhausted to participate because of all this craziness, and then but the Spamton keeps on intervening and trying to stop you from doing things, and that sounds pretty crazy. But then the girl freezes him, and then in the alternate world, someone's unresponsive in a computer lab. So that's pretty crazy, right?
That hurt my head.
I mean, just Undertale hurt my head. And this one's just kind of like, it also seems like he's going to like that deep, like, alternate universe thing. Things tie back and forth. This story kind of reminds me a little bit of like Mother 3, like, because they had that thing. Did you ever play Mother 3? You did, right?
Yeah.
Because they had that whole story with like the needles, where you pull out the needles, and whoever pulls out the last needle can make a wish or whatever. No, whoever pulls out the last needle, like, the dragon awakens and destroys the earth or whatever. And it kind of reminds me of that idea, because they're opening these portals, and if you open too many portals, the Titans come and destroy the world. So I'm kind of guessing that's probably where they're heading with this. And then not to mention too, like, Mother 3 had that whole kind of like good bad vibe, because you had Lucas, and then you had his twin brother who was secretly the bad guy, although it was super obvious because they look identical because they're twins. So it's not like it was a surprise. You're just wearing a mask. He looked like Lucas with a mask on. So I'm kind of guessing that's kind of what it is here. You know, you have to go to the bad, and then, you know, you're pulling out you're opening up these portals to save the world, but you're probably also destroying it at the same time. So And Spamton, I guess I don't know. I'm not looking at pictures. I'm just reading the plot. But that's got to be that thing, that really cool thing that had the good music from Undertale, right?
Deltarune?
No, Undertale. The thing with the good music.
Uh,
Who is the best boss of Undertale?
uh,
The best
Flowey?
boss of Undertale?
There's one boss who's definitively the best boss of Undertale.
Sans?
No.
Yeah, it's true.
No, it's not. It's the other best boss.
Because the only bosses I can think of are... Well, I mean,
The one where you
I
have to
don't know.
like type responses and be like, "You're so great."
Oh, fuck. Hold on. Hold on. Metaton?
Yeah, it's that one. So they gotta be related. Because Metaton and this one's Spamton.
Well, there's like a lot of crossover between the two.
Yeah.
It's about Death by Glamour.
Yeah.
It's a good song right there, baby.
Pretty much the best song in the game.
I don't know. Did the Pope perform here? Did someone
song?
perform that song for
Oh
the
my god.
What
Oh,
song was
man.
performed for the Pope?
Megalovania.
Megalovania from Undertale was
Yeah.
performed for the
No.
Pope
Yes, it
last
was.
week. Yes,
No.
it was.
Yeah, hold
At
on.
his event. At his event, it
I'm
was
sorry,
performed.
can I appreciate that I'm typing right down to YouTube Pope Megalovania?
Yeah, right.
Here we go. Oh my god. Every time I watch it, I'm like,
You-
this cannot be.
You know what makes this so much more interesting when you think about it?
Matt Pat gave him a copy of Undertale.
Yes, Matt Pat in 2016. Is that when it came out?
Sure.
Whenever Undertale came out, Matt Pat and several other YouTubers were allowed to give the Pope one thing, and he gave the Pope a copy of Undertale. And now in the year 2022, people are performing the song Megalovania in front of the Pope to honor him. That makes me think the Pope played Undertale. Not only did he play Undertale, he played Matt Pat's copy of Undertale.
I'm surprised Pope's just not up there dancing with him.
My
This
goodness.
is a very jazzy rendition of Megalovania.
It is.
2015. There we go. That's when it was.
This video?
No. Undertale was when it released in 2015. No.
Oh.
The video of the Pope was released 5 fucking days ago.
Somebody commented, the best part of this event is now we get to add this to the list of Megalovania's different iterations. Undertale, Smash Ultimate. This one's going to be referred to as Pope Megalovania.
Bro, and then we had Kenny Omega in 2019 who came out dressed as Sans from Undertale for a fucking big major event
This
in
girl's just
AEW.
juggling volleyballs with her feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's crazy.
Anyway. All right, so for this category, though,
That's
Right.
I have the last one to talk about too.
There's one more.
Yeah, Famicom Detective
Hasn't
Club.
talked about Famicom Detective Club.
I mean, it's not that. I mean, it's very dramatic. The story's
Mhm.
very dramatic because it's like a Phoenix Wright kind of story.
Mhm.
You know, where there's lots of cliffhangers. People are dead. So the story starts off, you have like amnesia, and you're like, "Oh, I don't know who I am," but this man saves you, and he's like, "Oh, I will help you, person." But then you're like, "No, I don't need you anymore." So you're thank him, and then you leave, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm a detective." And then like they send you to go investigate these murders at this like mansion because this
Mhm.
old lady died, and they're like, "No, it's natural causes." But you're like, this is very suspicious. I don't know. So you start investigating things. And then, like, people are disappearing. And then they turn up later dead. And then, like, everyone's, like, dying and disappearing. And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you get back to the cliff. And you find out that the guy who saved you was actually the big bad guy this whole time. And he pushed you up the cliff to give you amnesia because he wants all the money from the old lady who died, and he would have gotten it because I think he's like a descendant of her, like somewhere, like he would have gotten it. But you find out while you're doing all this investigating that you were the one true descendant who rules them all, and that you are actually the person who should inherit everything. But then you realize that it ruined this whole family, all this money did. So then you just give it to someone else, and then you just go back to being a detective. The end.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Isn't that cool?
Nifty.
That is
Mhm.
nifty.
I know. That's very. I mean, you think about it for a game that was made in like late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah.
It's quite a story. I mean, had you doing like all sorts of things. Like, I don't know. There's lots of dead people. People are dead like everywhere in this game. Like you just like you open up something like, oh, there's a dead person. And they go, that's crazy. They're very dead. And there's something. This is the one. Yeah, this one ends like in the mansion, and you have to go do like this maze and this labyrinth where the guy. Oh, who comes and saves you? Someone comes and saves you. I don't remember. It was a crazy story. And I tried to look up the plot, but I couldn't find it. Well, we were just doing this whole thing. But yeah, someone comes and saves you from this thing, but you thought he was dead because you thought they killed him, but then he comes and saves you at the last minute. It's just so dramatic. This is a story. Like, you know, Phoenix Wright like really played off like the whole like story drama and like the music and the timing and everything and broke everything down into chapters. Like this game just fucking nails it too. Like this is definitely like the precursor to Phoenix Wright, like in how they do that. Like everything is just so mysterious and so dramatic, and it's like watching a TV show. And once you start it, you just don't want to put it down. Like it's just so good. I like the second one. It's kind of the same. It's a bit more predictable. The first one, I was sure I knew who the murderer was, but then I didn't. I didn't know who the murderer was. I thought I had all the plot twists figured out. And just fucking unraveled it because everyone's dying. Like I think both their kids die, and it's just like someone else. Like I don't even remember who it was. Ends up being like the relative that's going to inherit everything. But it's just crazy because like they die and then they take over the company, but then they die, and then it's nuts. And then I was like, oh, I bet because you know about this lost heir, and you think it might be the girl, but it's not the girl. It's you this whole time.
Mm.
And then you're just like, well, this money just ruined this family. I don't want to be part of that anymore. So you donate all the money, even though you're poor and you have nothing, not even your memories. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's great. 10 out of 10 story. Second story was predictable because it's like there's a ghost, but it's not really a ghost. That we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the first one. We're talking about the missing heir. You are the missing heir. That's the secret because you got amnesia. But I don't think you would even know it if you didn't have the amnesia. I just don't think you knew.
Oh my god.
What?
So I did some digging because I
Mhm.
read that there was one more ARG for Inscription. Can I read you a more condensed version with the extra ARG stuff included
Sure.
that actually just blew my fucking mind?
Go for it.
Continue what you wanted to say first, and then I will.
No, you
read
can
this.
say your thing. I'm done.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Inscription is initially multifaceted and dense with interpretations, blah, 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 blah. That's what this is basically saying. It's what players see at first is the deck builder where the players uses an Eye of Beast encrypted to beat a mysterious jailer in his own game, but the iteration of the game is stolen in others. There's a retail copy of Inscription. That's what me or anyone on Steam bought and played. And then there's the analog card game, which is what the guy in the YouTube/Twitch streams in the game itself is playing. And then there's the digital copy of the game, which is quote unquote cursed. You know, kind of creepypasta-ish, but not really going too far. Where all the people you play in the beginning of the game, known as the scribes, okay. The scribes are part of that game. Anyway, I'm trying to get to the part that actually blew my fucking mind. Essentially, and I knew about the main ending where one of the scribes is like a bad guy. He's the PO3. He's like the AI I was talking about that was specifically built by the people that made the game that was never released. And that one that you have to defeat eventually. His idea is to upload a cursed copy of the game, and the cursed copy of the game is suggested to be the one that the YouTuber in the game itself, in the storyline, is playing. That's why he's having all these people come to his house. That's why he's having this like weird deep dive into his life now, and why we're watching all these videos, because they're supposed to be videos that are like showing what happened after he played the cursed game, yada yada yada, by the big bad corporation. and the AI they were creating and that sort of thing. But the final ARG was solved, and it turns out the final ARG existed in their last game, which you may remember from 2018, called The Hex, that I talked about in one of my favorite games of that year. The Hex is the game that was being created by like the company initially, which then created this game instead. And there's apparently clues in the fucking Hex and in Pony Island that lead to the ending of this game. And the ending of this game is a video. The final secret ARG in this game is a video. And the video reveals that the actual cursed game, that the like big bad that you were trying to defeat inside the analog game that the guy found and was playing on YouTube that you play as in this game, the actual cursed game is the one you bought on Steam. You, the real player, and that it is continuing because essentially we, the players who have now bought and reviewed this game and have passed on the information about how good it is and about like how good the story is and about how all this stuff, like that word of mouth, that kind of like viralness, you know, that's what spreads the curse. And the curse is basically just having a game go viral and that sort of deal. And we as the players, and me right now telling you to go buy Inscryption because it's such a fucking good game, even though I have just spoiled some of the story for you and some of the major talking points of the game, it's still a really good fucking game in general. Me doing this is essentially the curse that the AI that you were fighting in the game was trying to like bestow upon the world in general. So the curse is just like my knowledge of this game existing and telling you to go buy it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking nuts, is actually. I really, really dug this game. It's awesome. I didn't know about the final ARG, which revealed that the game we bought on Steam was like, it was the thing all along that we were trying to stop in this game. That's neat. I dig it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, Nick, back to you. What were you going to say about these things?
Oh,
I don't know.
Man, I don't remember now. I have no idea.
All right, well, I guess where do we want to start then?
Wherever you guys want to start. We can eliminate some things. You want to eliminate? It might
Sure.
be easier to do that than it is to anything else. I really like It Takes Two, and I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I think It Takes Two has staying power.
Okay.
I obviously I love Inscryption. I really, that's going to be my vote, to be completely honest. But I think of the ones I nominated, it would be Inscryption and It Takes Two.
To stay.
Yes. And then get rid of Guardians for me.
I was just say I'd be okay with getting rid of Metroid.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like the three should be Deltarune, It Takes Two, and Inscryption. The Deltarune stuff I was trying to read is fucking batshit insane because of all the connections to Undertale, in my opinion. And it actually makes me want to go play Deltarune now.
I know, that was far more convincing than
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with knocking it down to those three.
Okay. My pick is obviously Inscryption, but you guys can decide whatever you want.
I mean, you pretty much convinced me with Inscryption, but like, I also am like, It Takes Two also sounded really cool.
It Takes Two is really cool.
So I'm like,
Inscryption's more of a meta narrative, more of a like a kind of, you know, YouTubers, you know, virality. Is that a word? You know, and that sort of thing. And then game development in general. It's the story takes place a lot outside of the game itself. And I nominated it because I really like that kind of shit. I think it's super interesting, and it like kind of transcends just making a normal story for a game. That's why I liked things like The Hex. That's why I liked Pony Island, which also coincidentally was made by the exact same person that made Inscryption. So that's just kind of what they do, but they do it so damn well that their games just keep showing up on this list. I've nominated every single one of their games every single time they've released one for best story. So It Takes Two is a more grounded story. The story is located in the game itself, and the narrative is presented to you
Mhm.
there on paper. It makes more sense. You don't have to do any work to get it. So either one of those would definitely be my pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with giving it to Inscription.
All right.
Okay, so Inscription for its crazy ass meta narrative.
Yeah. And the other two can be runners up. It Takes Two and Deltarune.
Mhm.
Inscription's so good, it's under twice. It also gets to be runner up.
All right. So best story goes to Inscription, runners up, Deltarune, and It Takes Two.
Totally agree with that.
All right. And that, my friends, is the end of part 4 of our Game Crunch Game of the Year 2021 content. We still have one more episode for you. That one includes our top 10 Game of the Year discussion, as well as our own personal list. Stay tuned for that coming soon. And with that said, thank you for listening to us again tonight. And until next Game of the Year episode, game on. Okay, you guys ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
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 Let's go.
We keep on doing Mario noises a lot the last couple episodes. I don't know why. It's been at least the last 3 now.